this is not a lot of time at all, but this is something that you'll be talking about continuously with your team. How do you see the measures of success shaping your work in this summer? Thanks.
Yeah, we were just talking about how we have the individual measures of success. Like for instance, as a CMA, I have a goal for my effectiveness as a CMA. But what I really need to be concerned about is what makes up that measure of success. What are the components that go into making up that measure of success? And let that really guide my work. Let me be intentional about, am I accomplishing those individual things that make up that overall measure of success with my core members and with the students at my school site and with the other staff members at my school site every day.
Right, like the number's going to be a proxy. Like the number's going to be sort of your like, ding, I need to look at this, or actually we're good. And if it were ding, I need to look at this, then you'd be asking yourself the questions that you're listing. What is going on? Is it my relationships with them? Is it my lesson planning clinics? Is it my this? Is it my that? 10.
I mean, I think we tend to talk about these things in a very reflective way, like when I get the numbers to sell just course, like we know what we need to do now,
right.
And we can actually preempt the actions that will get us to the great numbers this spring this up.
Good point. Yes, like we're about to talk in just 3 minutes about the things we know get staff members to this. And I do want to point out right now that it's so easy, right, to just start talking about like our staff effectiveness goals and not think about our two biggies, which is student achievement and core member effectiveness. But let me just tell you why I also think that's okay. Because as you saw in the diagram, what is the lever for all of that? What's the thing most in your direct control? Your own performance, your relationship with the core members. So that is a tension there. You can lose sight of it. But that's also because it's really important. And you know, like that's the thing I can most directly do something about to trigger that chain of events. What about how you see it potentially shaping the work of your manager and IMT? And I would say that I've never put this picture out to, or question out to the group, but I'm like, we're going to talk about this. Let's talk about this now. Yeah.
I think it gives a focus for how to push us as CMAs or as CSs or LSs, where the same way that you would push your students in a specific area that they need growth. When we have these measures of success, the people who are above us can have a place to push us and know where to push us so that they're effectively using their time.
Yeah, like there's a lot of people working in Institute. Numbers help us, like I said, to know where to focus. Both your managers and your IMT. So your manager is going to be doing very regular observations of you, like once every couple of days probably. And you're going to get that feedback, and that's going to be the basis for your checking conversations with them, in the same way that that is the case with my IMT, SDs, and my boss to me. Also on the IMT level, I mean, I'll be very honest, it was so helpful last year. Like, I'll be honest, my first year in this role, there was a lot going on. It was my first job, and I don't think I paid as much attention to the interim members, and I didn't give weekly surveys. My biggest reflection was like, I don't even want to wait till week 3 to realize where there's like something weird going on with this CMA group or CS. Or, gosh, like this person is hitting it out of the ballpark. What are they doing? Like, why are like 98% of their people saying, yes, what is happening there? So yes, we look at this data when we get the mid-institute survey. I mean, we put everything up and we're kind of like, okay, what's going on with these groups? Great. Okay, there's something here. And I'll tell you that actually nothing else surprised me. So for instance, last year when we saw like, okay, these 3 CMAs, their core members ranked them not very well in lesson plan clinics. There were already people that we'd been working with for 2 weeks. They were not aware. They're aware. Fine, totally fine. Like, not, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it's about. And I also should tell you that huge increases happen as a result of this. And I think, too, it's very empowering for you as staff members that this is where the professional development bit comes in. I am leading those. I know what my goals are. I know where I am. And now I'm going to take control for doing something about it. And some of the first steps for those CMAs are like, you're going to schedule a conversation with the 3 core members that said strongly disagree. Go talk to them directly and say, why, I'd love to hear why you're feeling this way. That in and of itself, for most core members, goes a huge way, right? When you feel listened to, heard, whatever. So it was just like, take control of the situation. So, there you go. So we're going to pivot now, and we are going to talk specifically about our 4 cultural aims. And I want to tell you why we're going to do it here. Basically, all of your training, all of the remaining training is about how to be effective in your role. So CSs, your measure of success is, core members learning the stuff in the sessions and their perception of you. All of your training prepares you for your sessions, right? The lever doing that well is your sessions, and that's all your training, same thing with CMAs, etc. This is going to be the only place that as a group we're going to talk about culture, but then your school directors have plans to reinforce and practice and skill build on your school team calls and upcoming school team meetings. But I really, as a whole group, wanted to take this 30 minutes to just really make sure we're on the same page, because this was something that we increased in so drastically last year, and it wasn't just on paper, we saw it and got it. And I say this job can be easier or harder, and positive culture makes it easier for everyone. You, me, core members, their students, faculty advisors, as I say, I mean, it's just why. It can either be the easy way or the hard way, is sort of the way I think about it. I do want to put out there, although I think we've kind of answered this, but just one more time, you know, one could argue, and in fact, I would say actually, like 5 years ago as a program director, we did away with any core member satisfaction goals. And there was a reason for that. As an organization, we said we are too focused on how core members feel. Like we're almost like too focused on like, do you feel validated? And so as a program director, I was spending my time doing things like driving around to every school delivering cookies. Not a joke, right? And probably not enough time really. So we did away with the cultural goals. We said our only goals are core member effectiveness and student achievement. Guess what happened 3 years later? We said that's not the way I should baseball. It's both. It has to be the way they feel about your leadership, and it also has to be the results that they're achieving. It's not one or the other. So just for the record, why is it important that we care about core members, how they feel? Because one could say, that ain't it. That is not the bread and butter. I don't care. And both are important. Why? Yes, thank you.
Well, if a core member feels like cared about and validated, then they're more likely to be more invested in what's going on in a CS session or a lesson planning clinic or whatnot,
Yeah.
which then equals greater outcomes
Yeah.
for themselves and their students.
And I want to say that when we're going to watch some videos of teaching a lot in this training, and you can watch them from like a very clinical standpoint. When I watch those videos, like my heart starts to race, my palms get sweaty, I start to break out in hives. Because you're watching teachers with a whole lot of potential and promise, but they're new teachers in the struggle. We've all been there. They don't know what to do yet because they're brand new. And I think about the limited time that you have with them to coach them, and what if that conversation has to be dominated with all of the things they are dissatisfied with about Institute, instead of actually being able to have a conversation about what they're doing right, wrong, whatever. That's what's at stake. It's such a distraction. And so it's like, not to say that we're not going to address concerns, but it's like if we can front end, own our actions, and lead them in a way that doesn't get us to that place, then again, easier or harder, right? I mean, that to me is just it. So, just so that we're super clear, I think, on like sort of the chain of events, we're talking a lot about chain of events here. Chain of events that can be triggered by building a positive culture. And we sort of talked about it, right? Our proficiency at building culture will then lead to core member feelings. Look familiar? Look like the academic impact, right? I mean, core member receptivity to our professional development. We talked about that, which leads to their effectiveness, which then leads to student achievement. That's one rung. I would also argue that there's this other rung, staff proficiency at building culture again. We do this well, right? They're involved, right? They can help Teach for America, i.e. like be on staff and things like that, and be good stewards of the movement. Can a core member, I just think about the core members that we might lose, who actually could be really good, but because of a negative experience, if they're negative, it's going, if they're not focused on the task at hand, it just severely limits their ability to be good stewards of our movement. And at some point, you just kind of like have to put your foot in the cycle, as I sort of you have to dam this cycle actually. Like, bam, stop. Reverse, if there's a downward trend, we have to make sure that it's upward. Like, that's our job. Big four on that. Okay, so when we talk about the cultural goals, we're talking about 4 things specifically.